So is there anyone out there besides me that wishes they had more light on their milling machine? I have a LED light on here that's just clamped on a flex arm. I only have one. It would improve a little bit if I had one on each side, but they're kind of a pain in the neck. You still have to work these things around in the right position, and frankly they're kind of tricky to get the flex just right. And plus the arms are hanging down. It's just one more thing you have to work around. And lucky for me, there's a lot of YouTubers out there that have dealt with the same issue and come up with some pretty good options. And the best option I see is the ring lights that you put around the quill of your machine. So I've watched a lot of videos and I've cherry picked the best of the best. And a lot of guys have rigged up some really nice stuff like dimmers and you know, switches and that sort of thing. But I think what I'm going to do for the ones that I'm doing here is I'm going to just have a power plug and plug it into the wall, and that'll be my off and on switch. So now let's go over to the bench and we'll take a look at what I'm going to do for an approach on this. Well, first let's look at the light source. I've got two different approaches on this. I think I'm going to make two ring lights and we'll see which way works the best. And the first one is, this is a strip light, and if I read the description right, the light actually shines out of the edge of this light. So what I would do is I would make a mounting ring with a ledge, and I would just wrap this right around the outside of that mounting ring, and that would be really all there would be to it. And I would cut it to length, of course. So that's the first way. The second way, I found this online, and this is similar to Fred Miller's approach. And first of all, you have a ring with a light source with the lights built in, the LED lights, and then this really nice, what would you call it, a bezel here. And the lights snap inside this bezel, so it provides a lot of protection. You know, once it gets coated with oil and debris and so forth, you can clean this off and without damaging your actual LED lights. So this is the two ways I'm going here. So now the next thing is I need to determine what kind of material I'm going to use for the mounting rings, the rings that actually fasten onto the bottom of the quill that these lights go into. So I'll be back when I find some material for that. And so it's been about a week since I talked to you last, and this is the material that I got for the mounting rings, and the LED lights will nest into this. I ordered this on Amazon for about $15, so I can get two mounting rings out of this, plus I'll have some left over. This is 3/4 thick, and I need to come down to, let's see, it's about 580 thousandths thick. And so we'll go ahead and lay this out, get the squares cut out of this thing, and take it over to the mill and cut it down to thickness. And from there we'll go over to the lathe and turn it up round. So let's get going. Alright, a little bit about the setup here on this mounting ring. I'm going to pressure turn this. In other words, the only thing that is holding this piece in place is the pressure that's exerted between my live center on my tailstock and this piece of steel here that I have a shank welded on it. And this polyethylene has a lot of lubricity, high degree of lubricity, so I have put some double-sided tape back here just to help keeping that thing from spinning. So I've got a carbide insert tool in here, which is not the most appropriate thing. I'm going to try that. Really, I may change to a high-speed tool bit with an extreme amount of rake on it. Maybe a little bit of a radius on the tip, which would be much better. But because I'm lazy, I'm going to try this first. So that's pretty much the setup. And we'll go ahead and start turning on this thing. We're going to take this thing down to 5 inches, and I've 45 of the corners off of this just to cut down on the amount of stock that we have to remove. So stand by, we'll fire up the rotary phase converter and we'll get started. Just as I thought, that carbide insert tool didn't work very well, and I'm just afraid I'm putting too much pressure on this setup. So I've changed to a high-speed bit and it should work a lot better. So alright, let's get fired up again. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Oh, that'll be nice. That'll be great. Now how do I get it off? Oh, it'll come off. So I Googled to see what kind of adhesive works on this polyethylene, and they said the best thing to use is silicone. So this is a kind of a nice light press on here, and I'll just put a dollop of silicone just to make sure it stays on there, and I think that'll be good. So now let's see if we can get that off. Wow, that's really on there. Holy moly. Woohoo! Buddy, I guess I didn't have to worry about that spinning. Yeah, that'll be good. So this center hole, what I'll do is I'll set it up in my 3-jaw, I'll grip it out here or here, and I'll bore that center hole in there, which is just a clearance hole for the spindle of my mill. There comes a time in a project when you need to modify the design a little bit, and I've come to that point. I milled 4 little pockets in the back of this first mount that I'm making to kind of hold and support these little 5/16 by 70 thousandths thick magnets. And I glued it in place, 4 of these little magnets in place with just some silicone. And so when I was ready to try this out, I put it on the spindle and I found out that these little magnets are not really holding this as well as I would have hoped. And I think it would be a big pain in the neck because I'd always be bumping this light loose all the time. So number one, I need to go to bigger magnets with more power. And number two, as I was playing around with this thing, the silicone didn't hold very well because 2 of these little magnets fell out. So as long as I have to go to bigger magnets, I'm going to go with the neodymium magnets that have the countersunk holes in them, and then I'll just screw them on the bottom of this HDPE plastic. So I've got the new magnets on order, and these are all turned down. By the way, I got pretty far on this first one. I took this strip light, cut it to length, and it's just held around the perimeter of this mounting ring with a zip tie. And I don't know if I like that or not. It has this great big zip tie lock on the back of it here. Maybe I can come up with something a little better. I even thought about, you know, putting a piece of wire around there, some stainless steel safety wire around there. But for the time being, this will be okay. I need to do something here because I think with flexing these wires, it's going to break these wires eventually. So I have to do something there. Okay, so I've got the magnets on order. This first one's pretty far along. This is the second one, and I have to have magnets for the back of that one also. And this one's just about ready to go. I can just press this light on the second one, put the bigger magnets in when I get them, and then we can try this one out. I think this one is going to be a lot brighter, but the downside is to this one is that it is a little bit bigger diameter. Of course, the bigger the diameter, the more prone you're going to be to bumping this thing. So more light, bigger diameter, smaller diameter, a little bit less light. So I think I'll end this one right here. When I get the next magnets, and I'll cut the pockets for those and get them screwed in there, and then we'll give these things a little bit of a test and see which one works the best. Okay, so stay tuned and I'll be back here pretty quick. Okay guys, see ya.